Hi guys, this is Paul with Tweaktown. We're back here at Flash Memory Summit 2014. We're sitting down with Chris Bross from DriveSavers Data Recovery. It's been a kind of a big year for solid state, of course. We've seen a lot of growth in this show, and it's exploding. And I'm sure you guys are seeing a lot more in the NAND space in your data recovery. Can you kind of tell us what's been going on with NAND?
Sure, absolutely, Paul. Always a pleasure to talk with you, of course. And this show is, I think, the 5th time that we've come to the show sequentially. It continues to grow because Flash and SSD continues to grow in deployment globally, and fortunately or unfortunately, it also means that SSDs continue to grow in our laboratory in volume.
Absolutely.
So everything being announced at this show, everything new technology, big growth in the enterprise, expansion of interfaces on these devices, fast as can possibly be, all leads to more people storing lots more valuable data on devices, and unfortunately, in some rare cases, those devices go down.
So what are some of the challenges you face when you're recovering data from an SSD?
Sure. Well, SSD manufacturers are definitely making it more difficult to recover data. That's not their intent, of course. They're trying to provide rock-solid designs with high security, Opal 2 compliance encryption to protect user data. So all of the great technologies being put in place to protect data, of course, are a little prohibitive in the data recovery process because we're working with a broken device that's now lost data. So we have more layers of logic to go through, more translation layers to work through in order to get down to the user data. And compared to hard disk technology, which we've been recovering for 25 years or so, it's definitely more complex to recover a solid state drive. Although they appear to be very simple in design, they're very complex in logic.
And we're also starting to see, with hard disk drives, we've been pretty much stuck with SATA or SAS, and then as we moved over to SSDs originally, of course, now we're starting to see NVMe coming in the picture. Are you guys seeing anything or doing any development work in data recovery with NVMe drives as well?
Excellent question. So first we started seeing just straight PCIe applications when Fusion IO defined the slot years ago for Flash. We've got, a dozen or 15 players at least now providing a solution that was straight PCI. So we didn't see those initially as they hit deployment because they were in hardened enterprise spaces. Well, now we're starting to see endurance issues with some of those devices wearing out, and now we're seeing more of them in the lab for recovery. With the expansion of NVMe and really the adoption of that bus correctly with SSD, I assume we'll see more volume in that space as we go forward.
Absolutely, because it's growing fast. And also a kind of a viewpoint that a lot of people hold is that really you guys only recover data from maybe drives, SSD drives, hard disk drives in traditional form factors, but you guys address memory in a number of different types of devices.
In almost any kind of device, actually. Well, first of all, smartphones and tablets, a huge part of what we're doing these days, both in standard data recovery because you want the photos off the device, or in forensic data recoveries where we're producing data as evidence to be presented in a court of law. So high volume in mobile devices for the obvious reason that they're mobile, they're not always synced, they're not backed up, and they drop, they get smashed, things happen to them. But secondarily to that, we work on very unique stuff. We just had to recover a defibrillator.
Wow. Wow.
And the reason is that there was an unfortunate accident where a gentleman had a heart attack, and they tried to save him with a defibrillator, and unfortunately he passed. The life insurance company wanted to investigate whether or not the application of the defibrillator was used correctly. So they needed the logs obtained from the device to show that it was or was not used correctly, so it had to come in for data recovery.
So those are some real unique case points as NAND gets embedded in more and more devices. You guys are seeing a lot more of that.
Sure, and as unique as that is, whether it's a video surveillance system or a voice recording system in a prison, all of these are using different types of storage. Recently, we just worked on a case that made it into the news last month about something old that we just worked on, which was a set of 100+ 5¼ floppy disks from none other than Gene Roddenberry, the creator of all Star Trek.
That's right.
Who passed away in 1991. However, the archivist found a box full of disks that were unknown. Those came to DriveSavers, and in secrecy, we recovered those. We're now allowed to talk about it publicly, and we were able to save who knows what information that Gene Roddenberry created on these 1979 floppy diskettes.
Wow, and I remember reading about that in the news, but I don't think they specified who had recovered them, so that's important.
Yeah, and so what's happening is the archivist of the estate is now going through the data to see whether or not there are any characters that have never been announced, any scripts that no one knows about, any TV shows or books that may have been authored. So we're now waiting for the estate to make the announcement when they're ready. But we were very happy to assist on a very old technology when we're at Flash Memory Summit today, talking about the newest stuff happening in the industry.
Yeah, and you guys still have to be compatible with all of the old. And you know, and at this show, of course, everybody's focusing on SSDs, NAND-based, NVRAM technologies, the cutting edge, but of course hard disk drives are still there and they store more data than anything by far. And we're seeing some new technologies from hard disk drives that have to be presenting some challenges because they're new and disruptive, like SMR and helium. How are you guys doing in that area? Are you guys working on tactics and techniques already?
Absolutely. To your point about hard drives, last year, the hard drive industry, to be honest, seemed a little stale in development with all the stuff happening in flash. We were stuck at 4 terabytes for a bit there. And then all of a sudden we jumped to 5, we jumped to 6 terabytes. And now Seagate is talking about an 8 terabyte drive they're seeding to select customers. In less than a year, we're doubling capacity in the 3.5-inch form factor. That's insane.
It's big.
In the drive space. And with these technologies, each one of them has changed the game as far as how data is written. Whether it's shingled magnetic recording, as you alluded to with Seagate's technology, or it's Hitachi's technology, or excuse me, HGST's technology with helium-filled drives, they've very much changed the way we have to process the drives in the laboratory. For example, helium drives are hermetically sealed.
Yeah.
And once you peel off the lid, the helium bleeds out. Well, that's a problem with the 7-platter design, because if you spin that drive up, you're going to have a head crash.
So you have to work on it in a helium environment.
That's correct. So we've worked on a couple of different technologies in order to preserve the integrity of the device while we're working on it, because we know these devices are shipping in volume not only to data centers, but to prosumer and desktop solutions as well of RAID, NAS, and prosumer markets. There's going to be a lot of these high-capacity drives in the market very soon.
And I think people would be surprised, you know, everyone expects enterprise applications in data centers to have this 100% replication of data, but you guys commonly see areas where they've kind of slipped up and they need help.
Sure. I mean, you know, as great as the cloud is, let's not forget that the cloud is simply a network that resides in a data center.
There's a disk
on the ground with petabytes of hard drives in it. And as hardened as they are, and as well protected as they are, we provide data recovery service for cloud providers as well. So if you've got a free cloud account with no SLA, I do suggest you investigate upgrading the account. But nonetheless, even high-capacity data centers who do a great job protecting their data, in some cases lose information. They don't lose a lot, but they might lose a LUN or part of a rack, or when Hurricane Sandy hit New York, 5 data centers were underwater.
Yeah.
How good is your cloud when it's underwater, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, even those environments, they lose data too, and that's why DriveSavers is here to assist everybody.
And that's one of the great things about DriveSavers is they can recover data from just any storage device that you could imagine. A lot of that's just through ingenious engineering, and we had a chance to go through and tour their facility, and it is extremely impressive. So we'll include a link with that inside of this article, and you can take a look at the inside of how DriveSavers works. And Chris, we appreciate you stopping by. It's always good to catch up.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thanks.